Hello everyone and Happy New Year to everyone out there. It's a pleasure to be back with you in 2012 and hopefully it was a fantastic festive season for all concerned. We've just had round 13 of the iiNet NBL competition and Grantley, the Perth Wildcats, they just keep on keeping on at the top of the table and playing some very good basketball.
They sure do, and look, I know we talk about them a bit and they've probably been the pre-season favourite. But they're fulfilling their potential. They've had adversity to deal with. They've had injuries to key players.
Oh, they have.
But they just keep on keeping on. Another big road win on the weekend. Really, I think, just underlines what Perth are about. And I think, you know, massive surprise if we get to the end of the season and they are not playing off for the championship.
Well, at the top of the table right now, and you see the talent that they have at their disposal and just getting some good even spread. It's not like any one particular player is stuck out. Sean Redditch came back from his injury and his form's been variable. Damian Martin's had his injury concerns as well. But they just seem to, on any given night, have different players who put their hand up and get the job done. Yeah,
they do. And I think probably if there's one little variable that keeps things ticking along, it's probably Kevin Lish.
Yes.
You know, some nights he doesn't have big nights, but you know he's always there. He's always going to make something happen. He might have a quiet 3.5 quarters,
yes,
but the chances are that last 5 minutes of a big game, he's going to have a big say in what happens.
Well, he is. And another team that we thought was going to figure prominently in the playoffs, but they're only just hanging on this season, is the Gold Coast Blaze. And on the weekend, they had a tough time of it against the Melbourne Tigers. For big parts of that game, they seemed like they were in control. But down the stretch, the Melbourne Tigers, to their credit, overran the Gold Coast Blaze. Is it a bit of fool's gold with the Gold Coast Blaze? We saw them with Andres de Leon come in and we thought that he was going to be the one that takes them to that next level, but they're just stagnating a little bit.
I would go so far as to say that it's worse than fool's gold.
Oh, no.
I would think if Gold Coast, if Gold Coast was a young lady with loose morals, you'd say she was a tease, wouldn't you? Right?
Right.
So I think from now on, Gold Coast,
gone.
We don't talk about Gold Coast.
We don't talk about them.
Until they win 3 in a row.
Well, they're there.
Because they don't do it. They don't do it. For 1.5 years, everyone's got Gold Coast, Gold Coast. Hello? How about delivering?
Well, they have been a little bit stagnant. They've shown their very best is good enough to compete with the absolute very best. The biggest issue I think they have is size. They don't have that real big inside presence. They're playing that full extended court defence, that high octane type basketball, which can be a little bit hit and miss. But are you ruling them out as a championship contender?
Well, until they show us a little something on an extended basis, I think we have to. You know, what are they, 7-7 right now, or 6? You know,
yes.
They don't win more than 2 in a row.
Right.
Let's get a little run together and let's see what they're really made of.
Oh, Grantley.
You know, there's been a lot of talk the talk. It's time to walk the walk.
Oh, 2012, you've turned over a very aggressive league.
So there's a Gold Coast ban on until they win 3 in a row.
Well, they definitely have the capabilities of doing that, but another home loss.
Well, let's see it.
To them.
Let's see it.
Well, I'll just stand by. Give me, you know.
We've been standing by for 1.5 years.
Okay, we'll stand by a little bit longer. Now, the thing about them is that we saw them lose a home game, and throughout history, you'd say you drop too many home games, you're going to be in a world of trouble. But this year, that doesn't seem to be the case. The home court, almost irrelevant, Grantley.
Well, in some regards it is. The teams at the top of the ladder, the top 3 teams, have better home records than they do on the road. But funnily enough, the bottom 3 teams are better on the road than they are at home.
Only just better.
But theoretically, if you're at the bottom, you shouldn't be...
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe they don't feel the heat of a home crowd. You know, maybe Adelaide feels loosey-goosey when they're on the road, and you know, not getting a bit of heat from the home fans. I don't know what it is, but it's a little anomaly.
Well, if we have a quick look at the ladder and we see the bottom 3 teams, and they're still outside of the Wollongong Hawks. You'd say they're still very much in the hunt. The Adelaide 36ers, as you can see, are 5 and 9. But from what I saw of them their record on the road is better than it is at home, which is extraordinary when you consider how the home court advantage they have. And the Adelaide 36er fans are coming out in droves to support their team. So you'd have to say that a team, although they're 5-9 and second last, and the talent they have, still very much in the hunt.
Yeah, look, no question about that. I think I'm prepared to call Perth, New Zealand and Melbourne over the line.
Ooh, Melbourne's just.
Yeah, no, I'm saying the top three are in.
Done.
And then it's going to be a dogfight for the fourth spot.
You would think the Gold Coast Blaze on... Good point. Shut it down. Hey, Grantley, it's 2012 and we've had this little segment going for quite some time now of who's hot, who's not. And I'd like to talk about some white-hot heat that I saw last Friday night with the Sydney Kings taking on the Adelaide 36ers. And Darren Ning, check this out, Grantley, we've got the vision for you. He's come down and pinged one in from the centre line. That is white-hot.
And probably could have had a 4-point play.
Well, it looks like, if you take a look at the replay, it looks like he does get a bit of a hit.
Yeah.
The only sort of counter to that might have just taken the extra step.
Wow.
Might have just had a little bit of a travel. So perhaps
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Well, on this kind, it probably did, because they counted the three, they went off, and a big momentum builder for them. So
it was the only field goal he made all game too, just quietly.
Only played limited minutes, but it was a big one because it really did give him that spurt going into the halftime break. Another person that is hot, and the Melbourne Tigers are stacked with talent. They, similar to the Gold Coast Blaze, don't have that depth in the big man department. Matty Burston coming back from injury, but one player that stepped up very big time against the Blaze was Liam Rush. Now, his minutes have been a little bit erratic throughout the course of the season because they do have tremendous depth of talent, but Liam Rush, quality, hot performance.
It was very quality, high performance.
Hot performance.
20 points, 8 of 10 field goals, and the go-ahead 3 with 1:52 left in the game. That's not bad for a guy who really hasn't played a whole lot of minutes in a consistent fashion over the course of the year.
Well, they are stacked at that position, aren't they, with Lucas Walker, who didn't
play much.
Didn't play much at all in that game.
No, I think the issue is Cam Tregar's the man in there, and it's a bit hard trying to elbow Trigger out of the way at the minute.
Absolutely. So well done to Liam Rush. Great performance by him. Another team that I wouldn't put them in the super hot category, but just keep on keeping on are the Cairns Taipans. They had a little bit of a win streak there for a while, and again, against the New Zealand Breakers, held them to 57 points. Now, I cannot comprehend how a team of New Zealand Breakers can only score 57 points, but a lot of these extraordinary low performance games are coming against the Cairns Taipans. So are they smoking hot on the defensive end?
Well, look, they could be, but I think you just got to give Cairns credit for being more than competitive night in, night out. I think they get overlooked a lot. This was a team that went to the grand final last year, surprised everyone by doing that. Everyone says, well, it's a one-season wonder there. And they didn't start the season great, but here they are. They're at 500. They hold New Zealand to 57 and win fairly comfortably. So, they're going all right, and they're going to be in that playoff mix come the end of the season. So I think you've got to give credit give Cairns a bit of credit where credit's due. And we'll give credit where Cairns is due too.
No doubt we will. And I think also the style of play they're playing, they control the tempo of the game with their offense. So well done to Aaron Ferd and the Cairns Taipans. Still a long way to go, and they are definitely going to be right there. You've locked in 3 teams, though, so they are going to be right in the hunt for that fourth spot. Now, Grant, I know this is more your domain in 2012. You've come out very strong already right off the top and laid the boots into the Gold Coast Blaze. What are some of the not-so-hot performances that you've been able to
we didn't have to look too hard and far for the not-so-hot performances this week. The New Zealand Breakers, 57 points in the game against Cairns, but only 8 points in the third quarter.
Unbelievable. 8. It's not like this is just a team that's struggling along. This is a quality team and the defending champions. So how they could only score 8 is beyond me.
But even colder is that team we don't mention.
We can't mention
but
them.
we will here, Gold Coast Blaze.
Right.
6 points in the third quarter against the Tigers.
Mm.
Now, that's like Sunday night mixed basketball stuff, isn't it? 6 points in a quarter.
Well, I don't know if quite like that.
The Tigers aren't that good defensively, are they?
Well, this year they are.
Are they?
I think this year they're having some very good defensive performances, and I think the thing about this matchup with the Melbourne Tigers is they do match up quite well against the Gold Coast Blaze, and to hold a team to 6 points.
How do you have 6 in a quarter?
Unbelievable. And what about who else is not firing on?
Finally. The Sydney Kings went 0 of 10 on threes against Adelaide in that loss. 0 of 10. So we're going to name and shame.
Please.
We are going to name and shame. Ben Madgen, 0 of 2. Luke Martin, 0 of 1. Aaron Bruce, 0 of 2. Luke Cooper, 0 of 1. And the worst offender, Anatoly Bose, 0 for 4.
Well, the thing about it is, Grant, none of them really, 0 for 2 for a guy like Ben Madgen. It's not a lot of field goal attempts. I mean, collectively 0 for 10.
Make one between them.
Well,
come on.
0 for 10 is one of their lowest...
I suppose that's a poor quarter for you, wasn't it?
It's one of their lowest field goal, three-point attempt field goals they've had in a game this season. They are, statistically, the worst three-pointing shooting team in the competition. So perhaps it was a bit of coaching to say, well, let's just put the cue on the rack as far as the three ball is concerned, because 10 attempts is...
But make one.
Well, what I'm saying is, to their credit, is they were 0 for 10, they put the cue on the rack and they were smart about it. They still lost the game, I might add, but at least they weren't just out there blazing away.
Unlike you.
But hopefully they can do a little bit more, a little bit closer in the 24-second shot challenge, because this week we're going to take a look at Jerai Grant and see how many he can knock down in 24 seconds.
He's known for his dunks, but this man can shoot some killer free throws. Good luck, bro. Hey. 2, 3. Damn, Jay. Look. 5. Oh. 5. 6. Oh, no, it's all over. 7. 8. Oh! Get him up! 9. 10. 9. 10. Got it! 11. I think we better stick to reverse windmill dunks for that.
Well, not a bad performance. 10 for Jerai Grant. I tell you what, he just keeps on getting better as the season rolls on. His form is very, very nice.
He's very good, and you'd hope the Kings might be looking ahead and, you know, maybe trying to stitch him up before, you know, maybe Europe calls or whatever the case may be. I think he's one of those guys, he reminds you of the imports that maybe came out in the earlier years of the NBL.
Yes.
Came out young, made a good impression, seems like a good guy, great fit for the league.
Just if you cast your mind back, a little bit of James Crawford about Jerai Grant. Real athletic, good around the basket, and as he continues to develop that jump shot, he needs to do a little bit better than 10, hopefully. Well, we'll do a flashback, and next year, if he's still around, we'll put him back on the line and see how he goes, because 10, very good performance, but not good enough to get past the world record set by Darren Ning, the doctor, who knocked in 16. That's right, 16 in a row. Incredible. It's going to be hard to beat ever. So, well done to Jerai Grant, but not quite good enough to bring home the chocolates. Now, it's my favourite part of the show, where we get your feedback. We want to hear from you on the NBL Facebook page, NBL Facebook, or you can hit Grantley and I on the Twitter, Andrew Gaze 10 or Grantley Bernard. And his Twitter just perhaps a little less active than mine, but he does a very good job. In a little segment that we call the Mark Zuckerberg Minute. And who's our first question up today, Grantley?
Our first question is from Tara Rockia.
Tara
Rockia, who asks, is Cam Dragar a genuine NBL candidate? Genuine NBL MVP candidate.
Well, there's no doubt he's an NBL candidate, because right now he's leading the league in scoring. And I think any time you've got the leading scorer in the competition, they're always going to figure prominently in the MVP voting. So I think he's going to be right up there. He's a no-nonsense sort of player. He's not out there with Herculean type dunks or any of that type of stuff, but he just gets the job done. And I think he's underrated defensively. He's not a great defender by any stretch, but a lot of the take on Cam Tregar's throughout his career has been that he plays no defence. And but I don't think it's quite as bad as that. So I think this year he's going to be thereabouts in MVP voting.
Okay, so let's just recheck. Right, tick the boxes here. So take a lot of shots.
No, well, no, he shoots at a very high clip.
No, I'm just getting this down.
Right.
Formula for an MVP. Take a lot of shots, score a lot of points, don't necessarily play great D. Get a lot. No, that sounds pretty right. That's worked in the past, so that sounds pretty right.
Hey, this is not the who's not hot segment, all right?
No, gotcha.
This is where we're talking about...
No, I'm just saying that sounds like a tried and true formula to win an MVP.
Oh, I tell you...
Take a lot of shots, score a lot of points, don't worry about defence. You've got it covered. That's good.
Well, that's what he doesn't do, though. That's not what MVPs do. MVPs pay particular attention to the defensive end, and sometimes you're physically limited to those in that side of things. But Cam Tregar ticked that box.
I think Trigger would be he'd be a good MVP.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Who else we got?
Our second and last question today, and the winner of the Sporting Game Ball.
Well, that's right. As part of the incentive that we have here in the Mark Zuckerberg Minute, anyone that fires in a question that we deem is the best of the week will take home the NBL Sporting Game Ball. Now, that's an official NBL game ball. It's not the one you go to the shop and say, well, it's the imitation. That is the real deal right there, and it's a beauty. So who's going to take that one home?
The official NBL Sporting Game Ball.
Yes.
I don't know, do they get the one with your germs on it?
Absolutely they do.
Okay.
Added bonus.
The winner is Lucas Protopappas.
Who?
Lucas Protopappas. And he has
to his mates.
Yeah. Lucas has a great question for us.
What is that one?
Is Julian Kazoo suffering a hangover from his NBA tryout?
Well, the evidence would seem to suggest that that in fact is the case, because since coming back from trying out with the Golden State Warriors, his form has dipped off a little bit. And you can understand that, I think, on the basis that the emotional letdown, as he was playing the start of the season, he's thinking, I'm an NBA candidate here, and he knew he was going to get an invitation to go over there, so you're highly focused. But when that dream is taken away from you, albeit temporarily, because I think in the future he will get another shot at it, it can be a little deflating. And the form of Julian Kazoo against the Adelaide 36ers was well down on what we've seen throughout the first half of the season. And against Wollongong, statistically, his worst
7 points.
Statistically, his worst game of the season.
I think only 6 shots. Only took 6 shots.
That's right. So I think he's in a little bit of a funk, and I believe that would be a contributing factor.
Good answer from you.
No, but do you think
not as good as the question from Lucas Protopappas? The ball is on its way to Lucas. Well done.
Thank you very much for that, Grantley. Now, Grantley, we've got a huge round coming up. It's interesting because some teams have played 15 games, some teams have played 12, so it's a little bit hard to get a full read on exactly where teams are at the moment. But there's no doubt as we get closer to the run home to the playoffs that every single week is going to be very important. So can you talk through all the goings on in round 14 and where people can go out and see a high-quality game of basketball?
First game of the round, and it's a big one for the Tigers, who've got really a season-defining weekend in some ways. The Tigers are on the road to the Perth Wildcats on Friday night. Then on Saturday night, it's the Adelaide 36ers against the Cairns Taipans. So are the 36ers on the way back? We'll find out. The Kings and the Gold Coast Blaze, a couple of teams that are in that playoff mix, so another important game. Then the Wollongong Hawks and the Townsville Crocodiles. The Hawks, they're really playing for pride right now. They need a win at home against the Crocs, who need a win for their playoff chances. And then on Sunday, the Tigers with that second game of the big double at home to the New Zealand Breakers. So a massive, massive road home double for the Tigers this weekend.
It is going to be a huge one for the Melbourne Tigers and also for the Townsville Crocs, because Wollongong has now fallen into that category. If you don't get the win against them, it can be very expensive, because they are the team that's that clearly at this point in time we don't think is going to...
No. But they'll get the first draft pick, don't they?
Is draft pick? Have we got a draft, have we, coming up? No, that's not coming up. It's 8, Grantley. 2012, you come back even a little bit angrier than we've seen you in the past, which may be a good thing, maybe not. But Happy New Year to you, and looking forward to your contributions throughout 2012. That's about all we have time for, but we must pay homage and thanks to all those that support us, and firstly, the sponsor, naming rights sponsor, if you don't mind, of the NBL, iiNet.
Connect better.
1.
Centrebet.
And 1.
Spalding.
Rent Smart.
And Virgin Australia.
Yes, not quite the delivery that they normally come to expect on It Goes Off. Great performance by you, Grantley Bernard. Check us out next week where we'll have a look at all the winners and losers coming out of round 14. It's the #1 podcast for the iiNet Championship in the world. And we'll see you next week on It Goes